Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael Quinn. I'm the Vice President of the Meriden Hall of Fame Association, and I'd like to welcome you all to our 47th Hall of Fame induction ceremony. To start things off, I'm going to call on Father Mark Byers of St. Andrew's Episcopal Church for the invocation.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty God, we gather here today to celebrate the accomplishments of Marvin, Enrico, Jay, and Mariah. They've excelled in their various realms of endeavor and reflect in their accomplishments the gifts and blessings and character that you have instilled in them. We celebrate their part in the common life of Meriden. We pray that they may inspire us in our efforts, not just to excellence in sport or business, education, or community service, but also to greater heights of humanity, neighborliness, and love. Help us to look upon this city and seek its flourishing and transformation as generation succeeds generation. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen.
And now, with greetings from the City of Meriden, the Honorable Kevin Scarpati, Mayor of the City of Meriden.
Good afternoon, and thank you all very much for joining us on a very special occasion. Welcome to the new Meriden Public Library, for those of you that may recall the old library. And if you have not been here before and this is your first time, please, I ask that you take some time after the ceremony today to walk around and take it all in, because it truly is magnificent. And before we continue, I just want to recognize we have a few different elected officials with us from the Meriden City Council. We have Mike Rohde. Mike, thank you for being here. And from our state delegation, we have Representative Hilda Santiago and Representative Michael Quinn. So today, I always love the Hall of Fame induction, and I look forward to this event every year, and I do apologize. I know I had to miss last year's, but very grateful to be back today, because we're able to just take some time to recognize these individuals who have contributed so much to Meriden's history. We stand here in this new modern 21st century library that I know will serve families and residents for generations to come, but it's the honorees for the Meriden Hall of Fame who have really paved the way for us to get here today, and for those families to enjoy things like this library. And so to Marv and Rico, to Jay, and to Mariah, thank you. Thank you for everything you've committed to the city of Meriden. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for passing the baton to individuals like me to be able to lead this city forward into the next generation. We know that you don't do it alone. It takes a village, and it starts with those around you, your family, your friends, your loved ones, who understand your sacrifice when you take the time to give back and take the time to excel at what you do. And we want to make sure we recognize each and every one of you, so we have an official citation from the mayor's office, as well as others that talk about what your impact has meant to the city. And I'll just metaphorically say, if you looked at Meriden as a mosaic artwork, each of you have contributed your own tiles to make that so unique, and so special, and so memorable, and I can only hope to continue to do the same. And so thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you all for what you've done for the city of Meriden. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Scarpati. Over the past several years, we've been very fortunate to have Denise Jones and Inner Groove performing musical numbers for us. We're going to do things a little out of order this time, as Denise has written a new song about Red Bridge, which as you all know, is one of the cornerstone features of our linear trail system, and we're going to have Denise perform that now.
the train and we would walk. Meet me at Redbridge, honey, I will take my time, match your stride, and we will talk. We will talk. This trailer's only 10 years old. There used to be a beach on the far side of the road. A toast to the time when we were kids. The chapter in life was short and candid. What if we could go back there and then? Would we pay more attention to the end? Or just pretend? Oh, I wish I met you at Redbridge back then. Meet me down by the baseball diamonds. We'll reminisce about the times we played. When you laid plans over cups of coffee, it was an opportunity to stay. I should have stayed. Water under that bridge, I know. But I wound up driving down the wrong side of the road. A toast to the time when we were kids. The chapter in life was short and candid. What if we could go back there and then? Would we pay more attention to the end? Or just pretend? Oh, I wish I'd met you at Redbridge back then. And I know the diner's not the same it was, but I'm asking you to meet me there because we'll toast to the time when we were kids. The chapter in life was short and candid. If I could go back there again, I'd pay more attention to you, friend, and not pretend. Oh, I wish I met you at Redbridge back then. Oh, I wish I met you at Redbridge back then. Yeah, I wish I met you at Redbridge back then. Thank you.
Before we move into our induction ceremony itself, I'd also ask at this time any past Hall of Fame inductees who are with us to stand and be recognized. I know we have a few. And also, everything that the Hall of Fame goes throughout the year to prepare for this day would not be possible without the work of our dedicated volunteer board members, and I'd like the board members to all stand and be recognized at this time. Each year for the past several years, I've chaired the nominations committee, and part of my responsibilities are to gather the new nominations so that we can meet and discuss them. This past year, Marvin Beloff's name was put forward, and I almost put it into the don't need to worry about it file because I thought for sure he was already in. So I'm glad we didn't do that and actually checked our list to see who was in and who wasn't. And I'm glad that we were able to put you on the ballot this time, and that the members of the Hall of Fame felt what I felt all along, was that you probably should have been in years ago, but we're glad you're getting in now. So without further ado, I'll call up Bruce Birchstead for the presentation to Marv Beloff.
Some of us aren't quite so tall, I noticed. Well, it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce you to this gentleman here, Marvin Beloff, born in 1928 and still ticking. Now, I ask you to picture this infectious smile with a hand-carved wooden bow tie tucked underneath his chin, and with a hand-sculptured walking stick in hand, and you will have my most vivid recollection of Marvin walking about the villages in Vermont and elsewhere whenever the gang of us would go for a getaway. The big problem was we would walk about 100 feet before some stranger would stop Marvin to inquire about his walking stick or his bow tie or both. And while the rest of us would mill about waiting for their conversation to end, Marvin would befriend and often take an order for a bow tie from one of these total strangers. Now, I share that story with you because the very first time I ever met Marvin was at a Chamber of Commerce seminar on sales techniques in a meeting of this very library, one of the rooms in this library. Marvin was the presenter, and his entire talk boiled down to one word: smile. And he is living proof of the effectiveness of this technique. Now, having read Marv's bio, you know that he graduated from Meriden High School in 1946 and ultimately made his way to New York University, majoring in business. Along the way, he developed an extraordinary skill for remembering names and numbers, which has served him well in his future business career. Now, while still attending NYU, Marvin was able to convince the folks at Abraham and Straus to take him onto their prestigious management trainee program, even though he hadn't yet graduated, and even though that was a very firm requirement. Shows you a little bit about his sales technique. But abruptly, he had to give NYU up, unfortunately, and the job at A&S in 1950, when he was called home to help his ailing father in the family business, Styletex. There he was to assume the role of buyer, where he had to keep track of the inventory using an antiquated manual system. But Marvin, being the visionary, bought an IBM mainframe and set up a computerized inventory control system for the company long before PCs were ever even thought of. And as a sideline, he took on a partner to market his system to other stores, meeting with some success before some more sophisticated systems had taken over. As a buyer at Styletex, Marvin traveled weekly to New York City. On one such trip, he met his future wife, Gladys Buccilli, aka Mike. They married on June 14th, 1953, and have had an amazing life together, but I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that. Marvin and Mike opened Beloff's Women's World in 1973, and who can forget decorating for the holidays when they drew attention statewide by hiring Arnco Crane Company to wrap their large white store with an enormous red ribbon and bow. And here's how it looked, kind of, when it was done. And this is an image that they used and printed onto bags and used in newspaper ads during the holidays. Way ahead of his time in recognizing that brick and mortar stores are limited, Marv set up a supplementary catalog system selling product throughout the U.S. Here's an ad for his catalog in a Kilgore, Texas newspaper, imagine. Marv's bio has a partial list of clubs, organizations, and boards that he had served on, including the Meriden Chamber of Commerce, where he had chaired the committee that created the Meriden Silver Museum. And one club that isn't mentioned in the bio is the exclusive Meriden Home Club. Now, what few know, however, is that they had a method of voting on new members, whereby any one member could anonymously drop a black ball into the ballot box to exclude an applicant. And as a man of principle, when it came time for Marvin to vote for an applicant by this method, he simply said, "I'm not doing that. It's not a proper way to treat someone." And he convinced them that blackballing should not be any longer allowed. And they followed suit. Meriden Kiwanis has been a very important part of Marvin's life. And while an active member, Marv had many persona in the Capers variety shows, from a gambler to, of course, the Italian bedtime storyteller. Now, while president of Kiwanis in 1978 and 79, he was the first to ever introduce women into the club membership, which almost cost him his hide, but ultimately kept the organization alive and still thriving today. Now, in 1990, Marvin turned over Beloff's Women's World to daughter Phyllis in order to pursue other passions. And one such passion was sculpting. Now, that he had actually gained some statewide recognition and for his award-winning sculptures. But once a businessman, always a businessman. And when sculpting one day, he found that he really needed to have a better hand sander, and thus he invented and patented the Sand Devil, and set up a new business selling his invention, partnering with Steve Pappas of Pappas Woodworking. And Marv even went out onto QVC to sell product, and in one night, I believe he sold 50,000 Sand Devils. Is that right? $50,000 of Sand Devil. Okay. So that shows you again a little bit about his salesmanship. The Sand Devil did become pretty popular in woodworking circles. I have 3 of them myself. Here's an article published in the Detroit Star-Telegram speaking about it. Now, in time, Beloff Pappas sold the rights to this unique invention, and it is still available today from such retailers as Home Depot and Amazon.com. As a fan of bow ties, Marv became renowned for his hand-carved wooden neckwear, and thus he started a cottage industry selling his custom wooden bow ties worldwide, and the International Wooden Bow Tie Club evolved. As an avid reader, Marvin thought to try his hand at writing, and has, backing up there, had tried his hand in writing, and he has self-published several books, including We'll Build a Museum, which I believe may still be on the library shelves here. Is that right? Yeah. As a born communicator for 5 years, he hosted Marv's Mic, a TV show promoting the local arts, etc., on Cox Cable's public access channel. As a lover of music, Marv was inspired to learn the ukulele. Of course, part of that inspiration is the fact that the ukulele had become a family business, of which I imagine he might tell you a little bit about as well. He was a founding member of the Humblebees, a ukulele band that started out with just 3 humble members whose last name just happened to begin with B. And then it evolved over time and toured Connecticut and beyond for almost 20 years, raising close to $40,000 for local charities. As a concerned citizen following a political scandal, Marv organized Citizens for Election Reform, also known as CFER, C-F-E-R. This nonpartisan group helped pass Connecticut's Campaign Finance Reform Act of 2005, receiving a citation from the General Assembly for their efforts. Now 95 years young, Marvin has passed his mallet and chisels on to his grandchildren, and he's turned his attention now to sculpting words instead of woods. These days, he writes songs and poetry to add to his creative legacy. Marvin's friend and mine, I present, let me try that again. Meriden's friend and mine, I present to you Marvin Beloff, businessman, salesman extraordinaire, local TV personality, philanthropist, visionary, inventor, award-winning sculptor, community activist, family man, musician, writer, and so much more. Marvin Beloff.
Hello. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. For being here today, so many of my friends. When Bruce called and told me he had done extensive research on me and was nominating me for the Hall of Fame, it generated a variety of thoughts and emotions. Firstly, I had been involved with the Hall of Fame 48 years ago, and from its inception, and never thought of my being a member. My concentration was on those movers and shakers who made our Meriden great and me proud to live here. Secondly, I was always looking for those I would be eager to nominate. Luckily, I got to know many of them, honored men and women that I was able to vote for. Bruce's call was a great surprise. My folks arrived here in 1918 and opened the Styletex clothing store for women on Colony Street. I'm much honored to be a member of the Hall of Fame, in their name too. They raised 3 sons, Jerome, Arthur, and me, in that order. They taught us the importance of community participation. My elder brother, Jerry, was a well-loved Meriden pediatrician. My middle brother, Art, the problem one, was an engineer, and he and I were partners running the Styletex eventually and a variety of other stores. My wonderful wife, Mike, of 69 years, and children, Jim and Phyllis, volunteered on boards such as Girls Club, AAUW, Meriden Hospital, Chamber of Commerce, and others, and all Beloffs joined many local civic groups of which we were active members for well over 70 years. We truly loved our town and our many friends. This great honor that you have bestowed on me belongs to my entire family. All the boards and organizations my parents and brothers, my personal family, volunteered on, and the contribution made by them to the city of Meriden. So I thank you, Bruce, and the Hall of Fame Board of Directors for adding and so honoring the Beloff name. Hanging on the wall above my crib was a poem that influenced my life. The recent numbing of my hand ended 65 years of sculpture. Last year, at the age of 94, I started writing songs and poems. I set my favorite poem, that one that hung above my crib, to music, adding new stanzas. I would like to share it with you. The song, which I will not sing, I'll read, is called My Son. You're here to play a part, my son, upon this grim old earth, and so where'er your light is cast, do credit to your birth. Put not your faith in friends or luck, but play your part alone, and be not afraid for God or man to call your deeds your own. Then I added, failures are a part of life. Take them in your stride. Think of them as teachers to whom success is tied. Read and read many books to grow a questioning mind. They'll open doors to knowledge and wisdom you will find. Follow life's guiding principles. On 3 you can rely. Passion, patience, persistence are essentials to live by. And love is the most important ingredient in life. Love of self and others can overcome all strife. And back to end with the original poem. Take pleasure in your duties and make your work your play, and touch not toys that gamble your time and life away. In all things that you undertake, do the best you can, and the world will be the better, for you'll grow to be a man. Thank you.
Don't run off too far.
It is my pleasure to present you with a copy of the plaque that will be hanging in City Hall for all time to come.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Wow.
Our next recipient in the category of community service is Enrico Buccilli, and to present the award are his children, Christina Kiley and Michael Buccilli.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Buccilli,
And I'm Christina Kiley.
and we are honored to present the Meriden Hall of Fame induction for community service to our father, Enrico Buccilli. Enrico's story began in a small town of Prata la Pellegna, 2 hours east of Rome. After a 2-week boat ride from Italy, Enrico arrived in Meriden at age 5 in 1955, and his family has called it home ever since. The Meriden community welcomed Enrico and his family with open arms, which sparked an immediate connection with the city. This connection was the driving force for Rico to give back to Meriden. His community service spans over 5 decades and still continues today. Some of our earliest memories of my dad's volunteerism include long days and late nights at the Ed Walsh Little League field, Boys Club, now Boys and Girls Club, and the St. Stan's Gym. He was more than just a coach. He used the field as a classroom to teach life lessons to thousands of Meriden youth. They say a good coach can change a game, and a great coach can change a life. My dad's commitment to Meriden youth sports changed so many young people's lives.
After many years coaching youth sports, he refocused his energy from coaching to community leadership. He served as a board member and former president of the Meriden Boys and Girls Club Alumni Association. He also dedicated 25 years to the Meriden Planning and Zoning Commission, with 16 as the chairman. Still today, Rico fills a large majority of the time giving back to the Meriden community. He has served on the Bradley Home Board of Directors, Meriden Sports Reunion Committee, and Meriden Golf Commission for the last 10 years. Rico recently joined the supervising committee of the Members First Federal Credit Union and shows no signs of slowing down his service to the city. The city of Meriden is lucky to have Rico, and Rico is lucky to have the city of Meriden. He is certainly deserving of the induction to the Meriden Hall of Fame, and this public recognition is a great way to honor his service. To his friends and family, he has always been a Hall of Famer, but now it's official. Congratulations, Dad. we'd like to proudly call up our father, Enrico Buccilli.
Kind of neat to have your children speaking about you. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate my fellow inductees today. And to my daughter, Christina, and my son, Michael, thank you very much for your kind words today. As a school principal, my faculty was very happy the way I ran faculty meetings. They were short, concise, to the point, and always under an hour and a half in time. So I will guarantee you that I'll be less than an hour and a half this afternoon. My wife, Andrea, should be sharing in this award. Her encouragement, support, and patience over the years of my multitude of activities goes well and beyond. As my children mentioned, I was involved in a lot of different activities over the years, and I still continue to give back to the community. And if it wasn't for Andrea, I couldn't have done these things. She really did the yeoman's work at home. As immigrants to this country, the Meriden community embraced our family and allowed us to thrive. Thus, I have always been a proponent of volunteering and stepping to the plate to help out to make the Meriden community a better place to live. I was fortunate to have crossed paths with two of the founding members of the Hall of Fame, Joe Coffey at the Boys Club and Charlie Byron at Lincoln Middle School. These two Meridenites were terrific role models, but they also worked diligently to make Meriden a great place to grow up in. My mom and dad would have loved to be here today. Unfortunately, Dad passed a few years ago, and Mom is in a memory care unit at this particular point in time. Had they been here, however, I could just see my father now with a snicker on his face, and he would say in his broken English, "My son Enrico, he's a big shot here today." And that brings a smile to my face because Meriden's been a great place for us. It really has. I want to thank the committee. We really do appreciate your recognizing me today. But again, my mantra is always give back, and I try to teach my children and everybody that I come across that you pay it forward and you give back to the community that you live in. And thank you very much.
And on behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame Association, we're going to present you with a copy of the plaque that will be hanging in City Hall.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much.
And our next inductee in the category of sports is J. Dennis Murphy, and to present Jay is Stephen Kenny.
Good afternoon. I'm very honored to stand here today and introduce Jay. What a day it is for the Murphy family, Buccilli family. I don't know if you know they're related, and to have two of them enter the Hall of Fame same day, what a special day. I feel like I'm here representing so many people in Jay's life in this community. Meriden has such a rich history of sports. You've heard about it from the Little Leagues, named for Ed Walsh, Connie Mack, Jack Barry, guys who've been associated with this town that we all, and the leagues that we've all played in. The YMCA, iconic downtown before they built the new one. The Boys Club, all these things had a place in our heart, and growing up made us who we are, and who Meriden really represented. I even look back. Look at the Massa League. I mean, it was the heyday of Meriden in sports. We had the most softball teams of any city in per capita in the country. That's who we were. We competed. We loved to go against each other. We did that in all those different venues. Think about the Catholic Church had the Catholic Church Basketball League. At one point in the 70s, what was it, 8 or 9 teams. They were competing, and we did it throughout life. And we did it with respect and created a great competition between all of us. Meriden divided into 2 high schools, right? So pre-1960, there was one Meriden High School. That kind of set up that competition even further. But we always developed these special bonds and friendships along the way with our classmates, with our teammates, with our coaches, and with our neighbors. And we all knew and represented those neighborhoods that we grew up in, the schools that we played for. And at the heart of that sport of Meriden was this fabric. And there were always a few shining stars behind that, and that we all took pride in, and took pride in their success. It was based on hard work, a strong work ethic, that competition and toughness that we developed playing against each other through the years, the grit of the Silver City and the neighborhoods that built this great town, the commitment to our family and friends, and the loyalty to each other, and the respect we developed through each other. Wherever you went, someone said, "Where are you from?" "From Meriden." "Oh, you guys were always tough. You guys were always a tough out." Maloney, Platt, Wilcox. We were Chattytown tough. Well, J. Dennis Murphy represented all of that, and then some. And he did it with great humility and dignity. We couldn't be more proud to call him a friend and honor him today. He embraced all of that and carried it forward for his love for basketball, the grind, the work. It was awesome to watch, and it's still awesome to see as a man. He was the best of Meriden, a true icon, and part of that fabric that we all loved. So there were so many families back in the day that we think about, the Kennys, not this Kenny, the Herb Kenny family, but in these brotherhood that we all developed, the B-Sticks. I think about the West Side, the Wheelocks. There were just so many people. We all competed, and it carried forward, at least through 20, 30 years, and we developed that bond. And we were proud to be part of it. We grew up on the east side, on the hard courts of Carroll Park, the double rims at Mattabassett. He was always a hard worker. I look back, he was a paper boy for the Meriden Record Journal. Now, who gets up an hour and a half before they have to go deliver newspapers, and then knowing they have practice till probably late into the evening? That's what kind of work ethic he had. Worked at some iconic places, the Hunter Golf Course, Giant Grinder, Quality Bakery. Then he realized that he might be able to leverage his height and started painting inside some homes. All this while working and practicing hard. I followed my big brother, I like to say, because it was a brotherhood for all of us, through Nathan Hale, Jefferson Middle School, and then he got to Maloney High School. He was ours. He's Meriden's, but he was ours. He's Maloney Spartan. He had an outstanding career there. Left as the leading scorer. Led Maloney to a 39-1 record his junior and senior year. But when I talk about the fabric of the town, that was Friday Night Lights back then. That was the heyday. City championships meant something for basketball. And those teammates that he competed against, well, many of them are here today. It really meant something. And he always played winning basketball. He was a lefty. He had developed that jumper from the elbow. When he left, he averaged 28 points a game his senior year with 1,236 points. Again, leaving as the leading scorer at Maloney, having started for 3 years. Back then, they didn't let freshmen play varsity basketball. I mean, they didn't let Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton do it. Why would they let Jack? He went on to Boston College. Now, we're talking about the early 80s. He was our guy. He went to the Big East. The Big East. That was amazing. And we took a lot of pride in that. Not only did he go there and become a 4-year starter, he had an unbelievable career. He was a 3-time Big East nominee on all Big East teams. In 1984, his senior year, he was first team All Big East. When we talk about some icons on that team, Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullen, Pearl Washington, and Otis Thorpe. And the answers to the trivia question, the fifth member, Jay Murphy. He continued to be a winner and leader, bringing the Eagles to 2 Sweet 16s and an Elite 8. This is all in the early 80s. The Big East was where it was at. And Jay Murphy from Meriden, Connecticut represented us well. He finished as the 5th leading point scorer and 7th in rebounds, averaging 14.5 points a game throughout his 4 years at BC. He was inducted into the BC Sports Hall of Fame and has a degree in sociology from there. There's an iconic picture of Jay dunking over Patrick Ewing. Now, if you've been to any of the local clubs in town, the North Italian Club, the Polish Knights Club, you'll see that picture, Jay dunking over Patrick Ewing. Unbelievable. You may see it later today. But always being humble, and that's what I'm here to tell you about his records, because Jay won't do it. Kind of guy he did. So his senior year culminated him getting drafted into the league, as he likes to say, into the NBA. 1984, and we were watching a basketball game, and Charles Barkley was talking about something. I don't know what it was, and he brought up Michael Jordan. We're arguing, and Jay's just sitting there and goes, "Let me tell you something. In 1984, when I was at the Olympic trials with Jordan and Barkley, I didn't hear anything he said after that. I mean, how many people can say, I was at the Olympic trials with Jordan and Barkley?" He only told me that, and I've known him forever. I mean, he's very humble about what he's done and accomplished, but what a remarkable accomplishment. Basketball took him far. He ended up having a pro career. I don't know if Jay will tell you some of those stories. He was the 31st pick in that 1984 draft. Again, talking about some of those players I've mentioned. Played with the Clippers, Bill Walton, with the Washington Bullets. There's a great picture in Sports Illustrated with Manute Bol, who was the tallest player in the league from Connecticut, and Muggsy Bogues, the shortest player in the league, both on the Washington Bullets. Jay was on that team. Crazy stuff and the things he got to see. And it took him far. He had ended up playing 4 years in the NBA and then playing overseas after a few injuries. He got to see the world. And a little known fact, I found out he does speak Italian. He said he dreamt in Italian when he played over there, which I can only imagine. Pivy wanted me to tell some jokes, but I'm not going to do that. But I do hope he shares some of those great stories that you can hear that he doesn't like to share always, but there is an unbelievable podcast out there, Legends of the Big East. So if you want to Google it and hear Jay really talking basketball, it was fantastic. I don't see anyone wrapping me up, so that's good. Jay's post-basketball career, he always stayed close to Meriden. He was committed to his community and the people and his friends throughout his life. He always returned to town, coming back to see us, taking bus trips to the Belmont Stakes with friends, playing at charity events where you'll still see him at today, grabbing his Philippex kielbasa for Easter, and really just being part of and staying close to the community and being a leader and being an icon for all of us. We always knew when Jay was coming to town, even when that one time he showed up in his Porsche. We were all proud that he had a Porsche playing in the league. Sorry, Jay. And then really, one of our friends passed away. We started a wrestling foundation, Tom Straub Wrestling Foundation, back in 2001. And they're like, "Oh, Jay's going to be on the board." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." Jay lives in Rhode Island. True to form, he'd spend that hour and a half drive on a Tuesday night to come to our board meetings. I think he had the best attendance, and he actually probably did the most for that foundation because that's what was important, his friends in this community. That's when I really knew he was special as a man as well. He's committed to his family. He's been a great father, proud father, and husband to Pivy, right? She's been a great, strong influence on your life, Jay. Very positive impact, and you probably couldn't have picked a better partner. He's raised 3 great sons, 3 boys, Eric, Alex, and Thomas, all of who've had distinguished careers of their own, and also represented Finland. Pivy played for the Finnish national team. All 3 boys have represented Finland in international basketball. We got to go over to Helsinki and watch them play, or watch Finland play in the European Basketball Championships. It's crazy when you see a bunch of young girls running around in Murphy jerseys, Finland Murphy jerseys. That's where he's taking this game in Meriden to another level, and we've been really proud. COVID kind of changed my life. I moved down to Rhode Island, and now I'm Jay's neighbor again, and we've had some great times. Unbelievable to see how he's respected in that community as a businessman as well. And I love when I walk around and they're like, "Oh, you know Jay Murphy? Isn't he that guy with those 3 stud sons who are basketball players?" He's kind of taking it to the next level. Jay, we love you. We're proud of you, and proud that you called the Silver City home. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a class act and a great man and friend, and Meriden Hall of Famer Jay Murphy. Yeah, get it out.
Thank you. I think I'm all done. Steve covered it all. I don't have to say anything. Thanks. It's great to be back in Meriden today. It's truly an honor to be inducted into the Meriden Hall of Fame. First, I'd like to congratulate my fellow inductees on their award. I'd also like to thank the selection committee for my nomination, and a big thanks to my friend Stephen Kenny for that fantastic introduction. I want to express my sincere gratitude to friends, family, relatives, teammates, and coaches for being here and sharing this day with me. I've been blessed over my life to have so many people, coaches, friends, and mentors, starting out in Meriden and then in my life beyond, to help me shape my career and my life. It's incredible when you look back of how many people touch you. And you don't really think about it a lot, but when you get an award or a call like you did from Joe Zajac, it really makes you think, and it's an honor. After the call, I started thinking about my career and growing up in Meriden. I guess you can say that basketball shaped my life. From my days at the boys club, the Meriden Boys Club, to finishing up my career in Italy and everywhere in between. The game led me to many places, gave me great memories and experiences over the years, and allowed me to build relationships with so many people from so many places. Many are which here today, and it's special, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I had a great childhood growing up in Meriden. Sports were a big part of it. I grew up on B Street, from the neighborhood games to Little League baseball to golf at Meriden Municipal, where back then a season pass was $25. So I was there every day. I'd play 54 holes a day someday, and of course basketball. That was my first love. So I go to the boys club. My neighbor Tom Badley lived around the corner, so he was coaching in CUNA League. So got me to sign up. My mother was busy. My father was busy. So first game. Never played in an organized basketball game before. So first quarter, we go out, we tap it up, we play the quarter. Okay, second quarter, we tap it up again. So I tap it, and I run down to the basket. And Jim Mercier's got the ball. And I'm screaming, "Jim, Jim, Jim!" And he's looking at me. And I'm like, "Jim, Jim!" He finally throws me the ball. He passes it to me. I lay it in for 2 points. I thought you changed baskets every quarter. I scored 2 for the other team. That's my first game of organized basketball. And you think of the people that ran that club. Rico had mentioned Joe Coffey and Tex Burke, and Tom Badley was my coach. And then we had William Starr, who refereed all those games. It was truly a special place. You know, some of my buddies are here. I'll mention them too, but Danny Wodach, Dave Salafi was there, Steve Kenny was there too, but Steve Zanetto, Patrick Kenny, Robert Beestick. I mean, so many names that I'd be here for 25 minutes. But the point was everybody got to know each other, and competition, as Steve said, was the fabric of everything. And sports are a great diversion in life, but as kids, that's what you latch onto. At least I did. So from the boys club, I moved to Jefferson Middle School, and back then, no sixth graders made the team. So, you know, they just didn't do it. So seventh grade, I try out for the team, and, you know, every day you'd go look at that list on the coach's door, and you hope your name was there. So they first cut, second cut, third cut, final roster, I'm not there. Now I'm devastated, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. So that was my motivation. Bill Bundock was the coach, and I always bust his chops about that he cut me. And so that winter, I went to Carroll Park just about every day. Didn't matter if there was a foot of snow or no snow. If there was snow, I'd shovel that key area, and I'd go down there, I'd shoot that ball until it wouldn't bounce. Then I'd go 200 yards up to my mother's house, where I grew up, put it in hot water, go back down and shoot it till it wouldn't bounce. And I mean, literally thousands and thousands of shots. And that's when I got the love for basketball. And then I was introduced to Herb Kenny and the Kenny family, as Steve mentioned, ended up at their camp, and that was just a great, great experience. Then we entered into high school. So high school was, it was an interesting time. They were cutting the sports budget. So we didn't know if we were gonna have a team as freshmen. So I was lucky enough to make the JVs, but we had a great team. John Curry and Howie Hewitt were the coaches of that team, of the freshman team, along with Ed Zajac of the JV, who was just a classic. Many of you know him, but what a teacher he was. You know, Rico was a teacher too, but Ed Zajac, he taught you so much. Now, he taught you some things you probably shouldn't know either, but. And Norm Fahey was, you know, a great influence on me too. He was the varsity coach at Maloney. As Steve said, we had great years. This thing's slipping on me. And, you know, we were 19-1 my senior year and 20-0 my 19-1 my junior year and 20-0 my senior year. So just great success and, you know, so many good memories. Again, Steve Zanetto, Brett Aducci, so many guys, Chris Normandy. It was really a special team. And that class of 80 was incredible. Talk about all sports. I mean, our wrestling team was state champs. We had a really good football team, baseball team, volleyball team was state champs, and you know, everybody was together. It was so much fun. So I graduated from Maloney. I was being recruited, not a big recruit, but a regional recruit. So I had schools like Fairfield, Boston College, Providence, Canisius up in New York, and so I ended up at Boston College, but I have to tell you how I got there. It was a Meriden guy who got me there. Robert Beestick, who you guys know a lot of athletes of Meriden. Robert Beestick, to me, was as good as any athlete ever to come out of this city. And he was playing football up at Boston College on a scholarship, and I hadn't heard from them at all. And he went into the assistant coach's office and said, Coach Mackey, you got to go see this guy. He's really good. We could use him up here at BC. So he recruited me, took my trip to BC, stayed with Robert, and that was it. Signed on and had the greatest 4 years of my life in college, and it was a lot of fun. So, you know, Steve said we had a lot of success, Sweet 16s, Elite Eights, numbers, those things. It was great, but the two coaches I had were instrumental. They were just basketball, I don't want to say geniuses, but they just knew the game so well. It was Tom Davis and Gary Williams. So Tom Davis was just a tactician, and it was a great experience to learn from. But quick story, so I graduate high school, it's the summer, I'm working out, it's not like today, so I'm running on the track, I'm going down to Carroll Park and shooting the ball, and he calls me up, and he says, so what are you doing? I says, well, I'm running and I'm shooting, and he goes, well, how far are you running? I said, well, I don't know, I wasn't keeping track. Then he says, well, how many shots are you shooting a day? I said, well, I don't know, I'm not counting. And he goes, well, you should be shooting 1,000 shots a day. So I didn't know if he was kidding or he was serious. So what did I do? I went out and I shot 1,000 shots a day. And that's probably how I became a pretty good shooter, as I would call it. So great teammates. We had 4 guys that played in the NBA from that team: John Bagley, Michael Adams, John Garris. Just a lot of great memories. And then I was drafted. It was a dream come true. So, you know, worked on it my whole life. Didn't really think about it until it happened. And, you know, had great coaches there too. But a quick story, there were no cell phones back then either. So I'm in Boston with my agent. We're watching the draft. And it was on ESPN back then. So I get drafted by the Golden State Warriors. And I drive home to Meriden to get ready for the celebration. And I get a phone call, and I'm with the LA Clippers. 2 hours. Never even saw the place, never saw the team. So it was welcome. That's it's a business, you know. So I was lucky to play with great players, great coaches. And then unfortunately I had an injury, and I thought my career was over. But I ended up, after some back surgery, over in Italy and France, 2 years in France and 5 in Italy. And I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. Met so many great people, and by that time I had met my wife, Pivy, and she really helped with that transition, because going to another country is not easy. So we still keep in touch with some of those people, and great memories, a lot of good food, and a lot of good vino. So I'd just like to acknowledge some people that are here: Steve Zanetto, Dave Petrosky, my sister, my nephew, my brother-in-law Wayne, Ron Janakis, I'm Dave, Chris Beal. I know I'm missing some people, and obviously Steve over here. And so there is one person I want to mention, because, you know, it takes a village, as Marv said before. And so by then I was pretty much out of Meriden, but I consider this person family. His name's Frank Catapano. I have known Frank and his family for 40 years. So after losing my dad my junior year in college, you know, I was a little bit lost. And he took me under his guidance, and he helped me, and he mentored me, and he listened to me. And, you know, I made my share of mistakes, but he's always had a great influence on me. And I still talk to him every week. Thank you, Frank. And we're going to finish up with family. So we'll talk about when I was growing up. So my mother, my father was always working. My mother was my biggest fan. And then my brother Bill, rest his soul, and my sister Sally, who's here today, were always cheering me on, and my brother-in-law Wayne, getting to as many games as they could and just being a great supporter. So, you know, they were the rocks. And then now my immediate family. My wife, Pivy, of 34 years. She's always supported me, and the best thing that ever happened to me, and believe me when I say that, she's outstanding, and she is the rock. Then we have 3 children, Eric, Alex, and Thomas. They all played college basketball. They all got their degrees. And most of all, I'm proud of what type of people they turned out to be. They're all good people, and thankfully they're all living their dream, and they're playing some professional basketball around the world. One's in Japan, one's in Spain, and one is in Finland. So I said earlier that basketball shaped my life, and it still does, because I think the Murphys are truly a basketball family. My mother, Florence, played in Meriden when the women had 3 on one side of the court and 3 on the other. And so she's the one that started it. And then, obviously, I'm up here today, but my wife played professionally. She played on the Finnish national team and also in Sweden. And then my 3 boys. So it still guides us. We watch the games remotely, and you know, it's taken us so many places, and it's given us such rewards. So what a great experience I've had. But what I value most are the friendships and the relationships that I developed during my life, and all those who helped me along the way. I'm truly blessed. Thank you.
And our final inductee in the Historic Persons category is Louise Sanford. And to present and accept the award on her behalf is Sherwin Borsick from the Meriden Historical Society.
Thanks very much, Michael. I'd like to add my congratulations to Marvin Beloff, Enrico Buccilli, and Jay Murphy as the recipients today. We tend to think of history as something that happened a long time ago. But here at the Meriden Hall of Fame induction ceremony, I think we're all lucky to be able to rub elbows with people who are part of the history of Meriden. Marvin, Enrico, and Jay really are history in the making. And hundreds of years from now, perhaps they will think of a historic category, and these same people that we're fortunate to know intimately as friends will be given a historic recommendation and a historic award, as they are given today, and when we're lucky to have them still with us. My inductee, Louise Sanford, cannot be here to accept this award, fortunately. Even maybe Halloween is coming, but it's still unlikely. She was born in December of 1836 in Saybrook, as you see in your program. She and her family moved to Meriden shortly after her birth. She spent her formative years and adolescent years in Meriden, attended schools here, finishing with 3 terms at the Meriden Academy, of which I have never heard, but apparently there was one in Meriden called the Meriden Academy. She graduated from the Britain Normal School, which is now Central Connecticut State University, in 1855 and taught in the Connecticut school system until 1868. Moved to Philadelphia to find a more rewarding teaching position, and there she began a career as a public figure and academic. In 1870, officials from Swarthmore College appointed her as a professor of history, and this was a very interesting event, as she was one of the first women to teach history at an American university. She then took up public speaking, and she began to lecture at Teachers' Institutes, encouraging others to follow in her footsteps. In 1880, she began teaching rhetoric and elocution at the University of Minnesota and helped the university establish its cooperative education program. She frequently delivered public lectures on cultural and social topics and was known as the, quote, best loved woman in Minnesota, unquote. Upon her retirement in 1909, she used her statewide prominence to advocate for social reforms. She was a founder of the Minneapolis Improvement League and a Minneapolis hospital director. She influenced the creation of a Minnesota National Forest, advocated improved education for Blacks and Native Americans, and promoted women's suffrage. She died April 21st, 1920 in Washington, D.C., 2 days after speaking to the Daughters of the American Revolution. In 1958, during Minnesota's centennial year, the state sent a sculpture of Sanford to the United States Capitol as its second and final representative in Statuary Hall, and this statue now resides at the Capitol Visitors Center. So on behalf of Mariah Sanford, I'm happy to accept this award from the Meriden Hall of Fame Association. Thank you.
Okay, we want to thank everyone for being with us this afternoon. And you may be saying to yourself, how can I join the Hall of Fame? Or how do I nominate someone for the Hall of Fame? Both of those things are rather simple. You can join the Hall of Fame as a member and either pay an annual fee, or if you like your odds and think you'll live about 5 years, opt for the lifetime membership. You'll save money in the long run. That's what I did. I did the math. And as a member of the Hall of Fame, you get to vote on who gets inducted. So that's one of the best perks of being a member. Anyone can nominate anyone to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, but only members get to vote. After we finish with the benediction, if we could have all 3 of the inductees back up here for a photograph, that would be great. But at this time, I will call on Father Mark Byers of St. Andrew's Episcopal Church to deliver the benediction.
The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Gracious God, giver of all good things, thank you for being among us as we've elevated these, your children, in the sight of their neighbors and city. Let their example be to us and our children a source of inspiration that we may continually surpass ourselves in our own accomplishments in work or service or sport or whatever other area in which we strive. Build us up as citizens that we might constantly support and challenge one another to recreate Meriden every day into something closer to what you would wish. Transform each of us continually through your presence that we might grow in faith and character and be better able to serve you and those around us. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and bring you peace. Amen.
And before we adjourn for refreshments in the back, if I could have Mayor Scarpati and Representative Santiago come up. They each have citations. Representative Santiago on behalf of myself, Representative Fazzino, and Senator Hockadell from the state legislature, and the mayor handing out a mayoral proclamation. So if they could come up and present those.
I'm not that tall either. Good afternoon. So we have an official citation from the General Assembly introduced by Representative Hilda Santiago, Senator Jan Hockadell, Representative Michael Quinn, and Representative Jonathan Fazzino. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Marvin Beloff, Enrico Buccilli, Jan Dennis Murphy, and Mariah Sanford. So I'm just going to read one of them because I know everybody wants to get up and have refreshments and reminisce about the old days. So I'll just read one of them. This induction into the Meriden Hall of Fame, this recognition is a testament to your hard work, dedication, and service to the community. We not only thank you to celebrate all your contributions to the Meriden Chamber of Commerce as chairman of the Meriden Silver Museum Development Committee and the World War II Memorial Hospital Board, and you stand as an example for others to emulate. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success, dated 15th day, October 2023, at the State Capitol, Hartford, Connecticut, by President Pro Tem Martin Looney, Speaker of the House Matt Ritter, and Secretary of the State Stephanie Thomas. So congratulations.
I'll spare you the reading of any of them because they all state pretty much the bios of that have been read and the names, of course, of all the award recipients. So as I mentioned, on behalf of the entire city of Meriden, the Meriden City Council, and of course my office, congratulations and thank you for everything you've done and continue to do for our city. Thank you.
And this concludes the 47th Annual Meriden Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Again, thank you on behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame and our recipients this year for being here for this memorable occasion. And please eat and drink so that we don't have to take it home. Thank you.